ups and downs of dating and how to navigate through it. Today, my guest is Bethany Dotson. She helps women realize their self worth, release stress, anxiety, and find more love in life. She also helps women create a life beyond their wildest dreams. Well, Bethany Dotson, thank you so much for being on People on Dating. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm well. I'm well. Thank you for
Well,
asking.
well, listen, it's my pleasure. I think today's topic is a good one. How do you trust yourself after a failed relationship? So, Bethany, first of all, tell us how you got here today. What was Bethany's what was Bethany's journey to get here to today? What was that journey like for all of us
Oh,
to know about?
oh yes. Okay. Well, I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. So about 10 years ago, I was training to be a yoga therapist. I'd been teaching regular yoga for 10 years. I'd suffered a lot of anxiety, depression, drug use, toxic relationships. In college, I found yoga, meditation, that really, really helped me tremendously. I became a teacher, and then I was like, okay, well, I know I don't want to just teach people how to do downward facing dog. I want to teach people how to get through tough
Yeah,
situations
yeah.
and regulate their emotions and feel calm in the face of challenges. And so I became a yoga therapist, had a private practice, and I started attracting mostly women who were out of a divorce or were thinking about leaving their husbands because he was an addict or he was cheating or he had an anger problem. And I had a recurring theme of people that were struggling in relationships. And at the same time, as I was sitting across from them, coaching them, guiding them through their body, I was struggling with toxic relationships. Still, I was in a narcissistic relationship, thought I could change him. Anyway, fast forward to 2018, I left that relationship and decided to go all in and just focus on helping people feel confident again after repeat abuse, after childhood trauma, help them feel happy on a
Yeah.
regular basis. A lot of people I work with have been in talk therapy for many years, and it's not, they're still stuck. And to help people feel confident and trusting of themselves in dating. But when you trust yourself fully, your whole life opens up. You start the dream business. You go for the promotion at work. You quit the shit job and you go for the thing you really want to be doing. So it kind of opens your life up. So yes, that's how I kind of arrived here. And then in 2018, I hired my own coaches. And coaching for me, I mean, I'd done decades of therapy as well, and I was still making the same choices. So coaching for me was something that really helped me move forward past my stuff. And so I feel for the right person, it can be really invaluable to work with a coach or try coaching if you've been talking about the past for a long time, but you're not making any movement. So that's how I got here.
Well, I like what you said. Sometimes you can let go of the past and you can't move forward. And today's topic, again, how do you trust yourself after a failed relationship? In your journey to helping women, and I know, would you say you help men on occasion too, or is it maybe a
Yeah,
90-10 split with
it's a
women to men?
90-10 split. I've been considering helping men. I worked with men prior when I had a private brick and mortar practice. But yeah, 90-10 split right now, hoping
Right.
to make that a little bit more even.
Right. So in your journey and your coaching and consulting, anytime you're helping people out, um, who takes the breakup worse? Is it a man or a woman, in your opinion? I hear men do because they put a lot into a relationship where some women can just go about their business and find a replacement, so to speak. I hate to say that word, but um, is that a true statement, or is it evenly distributed? That both, I guess it depends on the person. Some people could just take a breakup and move on. Some might take a while. What's your opinion on that?
Well, I feel, in my opinion, it's even. There are some people that say, "Oh, a guy moves on so fast." or a woman moves on so fast. And what I found to be true, regardless of the sex, is that, it depends on, even if somebody does move on fast, 99.9% of the time, they're usually not dealing with their own feelings. They're using another person to fill a hole or to feel something other than sadness and feeling like a failure.
Right.
So they're essentially running away from their feelings. So I feel like I think maybe men, just from societal conditioning, like, don't be a pussy, suck it up, move on. There's a lot of women out there, that kind of thing, like depending on like their culture, their background, how they were raised. I feel like that messaging tends to be more ingrained for men than women. Women kind of like, if they're not in therapy, they're going to talk it over with their girlfriends. And I don't know that men necessarily talk with their guy friends. They might go fishing or something like that, or have beers. But regardless, I find that it's dependent on the person. And I think if you're moving on quickly, there's a high probability that you're not truly dealing with your own feelings that got you into the problem that's creating the pattern to begin with. So I think it impacts both sides on a relatively equal basis, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it does. And it's fair. And it's funny. And I remember, I think I touched this topic about who men talk to, like who's our outlet. Because I remember I was talking to a friend of mine months ago, and we talked about that, like who is our outlet, not like you had said earlier, a lot of guys will say, man, screw that bitch. She's a bitch anyway. You don't need her. You can find someone else. And some guys don't want to hear that. So for us to talk about that, that's hard, especially I'm older. I don't know about the younger guys, but as an older gentleman, we pretty much kept it inside. And then our next relationship, we found that it's a rebound. And it's not fair for her or me, because I've been on both sides. And it's not a good thing. So I think for most guys, and I'm talking about 45 and up.
Yeah.
Some of us don't have an outlet.
Yeah.
We could talk to our buddy, but we won't give the full details. And in certain situations, we might not talk to a woman, that might be our friend, because she can't see it from a man's point of view, if that makes sense.
Yeah, completely. I think the thing that's coming up for me here is like, the risk of being vulnerable. And I think, for a man, especially 45 and up in that demographic, like, a child of the 80s, the 70s, like that time frame, like, definitely shut up, sit down, don't stop crying. Like you get that messaging, tough it up, just get up and keep going kind of thing. In childhood, that stuff is hard to shake. And I think, when men don't feel like they can truly open up and they don't have an outlet after a breakup, and with a man or a woman, male friend or female friend, that's the same problem that's causing them to hit a wall in the relationship. That fear of vulnerability, that fear of opening up. Yes, it's true for men. It's equally as true for women, because I work a lot with women who attract emotionally unavailable men, or men who have commitment issues, or cheat on them with porn, or cheat on them with alcohol or whatever. But the woman is often just as guilty of that, because if you're choosing somebody who can't give you what you need, you're essentially afraid of vulnerability too. You're afraid of emotional intimacy as well. So you guys are kind of a match. So I think at the core, it's really about fear. What if I say this? What if I let you know who I really am and you leave? What if you judge me? What if you don't like me anymore? So it just comes down to like that protection. And the more we protect, the more we don't get what we want, unfortunately.
No, that's a great point about protecting. I've been, and it's hard to talk about this part because for most guys and including myself, we don't want to be vulnerable to our woman. We don't know how she's going to react. She might react and say, "Oh, yeah, oh God, he's a pussy, and I can't be around that. I need a real man." So it's even if it's a 50-50 situation where we don't want to take that chance because
Yeah.
it's a again, we want to show our woman, our lady, our girlfriend, wife that, hey, we could tough it up, and if we do show vulnerable side, we'll show it to our buddies, because
Yeah.
they might understand more than, we want to show our girlfriend or, our partner that, hey, we're here, we're solid, we got your back, and don't worry, I have my own back. Does that make sense?
Yeah. 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 That does make
So,
sense.
right. So for us, it's hard to show that type of emotion. Um, Now, if some women are like, they could be cool with it. Oh, you know what? He's showing his vulnerable side. Wow, that he's okay. But again, it could be a 50-50 shot that we might lose her. Then 9 out of 10 times we're just gonna suck it in, and we'll cry in the shower or just like pound the wall in the shower. So again, it's that it's a thin line between doing it and just keeping it in. And in most
Yeah.
situations, we're gonna keep it in.
Yeah. I don't know if this applies to men uh or women, if there's a difference in how it's applied. I found just in my experience that when there's a risk involved, vulnerability requires it's going to feel risky, right? There's uncertainty. It feels risky. You feel exposed. You feel like, when
Right,
when
right.
that element is there and people are afraid because of what somebody might think, they're afraid of judgment. What I found is it's because they themselves are in some way judging themselves. And when there's when they're self-judging, when they're judging themselves, or when the tape going in their mind is like, suck it up, asshole, don't be a pussy, you can't she's going to think you're an idiot if you do that. Like, if that's kind of the thing that's going in their mind,
Yeah.
of course they're going to have a hard time opening up, because they're already berating themselves, so
Oh yeah,
I
that goes
found
on. I mean, yeah, that definitely goes on in our mind because, like I said, I talked to some of my other buddies about that, and yeah, we just don't want to show that side to you. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
so again, I think it's a thin line. Maybe it's a thicker line. I don't know, but in my case, I usually suck it in and out. Maybe I could probably count on one hand how many times I talked to a woman about, and it's a friend. I would consider her a friend more than my partner that I'm going through bad times.
Yeah.
I'll talk to someone that I know for years compared to someone that I might have been dating for about 6, 7 months. So you go through a relationship, it ends bad, or you want closure, or there's no closure. So how do you trust yourself again? So let's get into that topic. So how do
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
trust yourself that that next person is hopefully the right one, but also you could trust yourself that you're not going to bring your last relationship into this one. Does my question make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, it's a layered response, but I think there's no like step one, do this, step two, do this, step
Right,
three.
right,
Like
right. I
I,
was hoping
I,
for that, but okay.
well, I could probably outline it that way. So I found the first thing that always needs to happen is having a very heightened state of inner awareness, being highly aware of yourself, aware of when you feel triggered, aware of when you go unconscious in your day-to-day life, aware of how much time you're spending on your phone or numbing out from your pain or
Mm,
drinking or shopping or sleeping with people or being aware of what you're feeling, being aware of the choices that you're making throughout the day, just being very self aware, because a lot of people are not that. A lot of people are wake up, I feel like shit, I don't like my job, I just broke up with my ex for the fourth time and know it's the final time. Oh God, they like wake up and like they're not happy, and they go through their day and they're just trying to survive the day. And they're like, let me put out this fire, this fire, this fire, this fire, this fire. Let me, be on my phone. Let me compare myself to my best friend who's still married to her high school sweet, like all this stuff. And they're not really aware of what they're doing. And then years go by and they're still stuck. So the first step to trusting yourself is you have to be highly, highly aware of yourself. You have to be, yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. So how do we become inner aware?
Hey, yes, great question. Mindfulness is a wonderful tool. So I use somatic therapy, which is breath work, which is noticing your body. That can be mindful walking. I use trauma sensitive yoga here. Trauma sensitive yoga is not Bikram yoga. It's not, let me put my leg behind my head. It's like very subtle. What am I noticing? Your feet on the floor, getting into traffic, the guy's tailgating you, like, or riding your ass, like, okay, become aware. Oh, I'm getting triggered. My breath, I've stopped breathing. Like breath work, movement, meditation, learning to turn your focus inward and making
Turn
that
off
a
the
daily,
noise. Turn off the noise,
turn
right?
off the noise.
Yeah.
Having some kind of protocol or practice every single day. This is what I give my clients. Just right off the bat, when we first start working together, this is what you're going to be doing every single day. Something to like start rewiring their brain and their nervous system out of that survival mode and that fight or flight living. So that's how you start turning the focus inward. Does that make sense?
No, definitely. I like that. Become inner awareness, mindfulness. I don't know if you want me to add anything to that. Meditate. I like that.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing, and an ex-girlfriend told me about turning off the noise. She noticed one time when she slept in my apartment, I turned on the TV, the lights, I had the radio on. So I had like 17 things that were going on. And I hate to admit that, but that's how I was. And then when she told me one time, she says, you got too much noise. And I had no idea what she meant by that until she explained it. And I'm like, holy shit, she's right. So now, when I moved into this apartment, I remember when I was working in the daytime. Now I work in the evenings, but when I was working in the daytime, I didn't have anything on. I might have maybe the radio, on my phone to listen. I'm a sports guy, so I love listening to sports talk radio. So I'll listen to that. But usually like the first 5-6 minutes, I had it off. And then I just started thinking, and I started journaling. Not every day, but every few days I started journaling what I want. So I definitely get that. Is it impossible? I should say impossible, but for your clients, when you tell them this, shut the noise off, especially, how do they react? Because, we're on our phones 23 out of 24 hours.
It's hard. Their first, it depends. Some people are like, okay, I'm so sick and tired of I'm so sick and tired of distracting myself. I know I have to do something. They're ready and willing. Some people are skeptical. Well, is this really going to work? If I really get quiet and turn off the noise and relax and focus on my body, is that really going to make some changes in my life? And so they're a little bit more on their heels and they're like leaning back. But what I found is consistency is the key. If somebody's had themselves and their patterns for 40 plus years, most of the people I work with are over 40,
Right.
and they've been doing the same thing, trying to get a different result. The consistency in rewiring their brain, how they're thinking, and their nervous system, how they're feeling every day, takes a daily effort, like going to the gym. It's like working out. You got to go every day if you want to see some results.
Right.
So,
Yeah, no, I definitely get that. I love that. Is being aware of what you're doing, do it every day, be consistent. Because I admit though, and we're talking with Bethany Dotson, and our topic is how to trust yourself after a failed relationship. I wasn't consistent, with the noise. I might have got 1 or 2 days, at the beginning without turning on the TV, but then I had to turn it back on. Oh my God, I missed the last night's sports scores. I got to see what's going on. So that was hard to do. But like I said, now I've gotten used to it. And even during the middle of the day before I go to work, I might take 10 minutes. I'll shut off my phone and then just put the timer and just sit on my couch for 10 minutes and just say, and just start thinking of what I want to do and get over some fears that I might have and things like that. Is that something you would suggest? Just maybe even a 5-minute break?
To do something, and you got to do it consistently. You got to
Right.
turn your focus inward. So the key is consistency. 66 days is what neuroscientists say is the length of time that it takes for you to start a habit and
Mm,
for that habit to just begin becoming an automatic unconscious behavior. So you need to be consistent for 2 months, more or less, for that new behavior, that habit that you're doing to start slipping into your subconscious, where it's just like something you do and you don't even think about it anymore.
it becomes natural.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you're dealing with, especially with women, like I said, like you said, 90 to 10, are they more willing to relive some of their past mistakes with men? You know, maybe they chose a man on maybe their looks or maybe their financial status. Uh, are some of them willing to, are their standards maybe getting too high as maybe they get older, or depending on the women you deal with? Do you deal with women in their 20s or mostly older women?
They're midlife. My
Okay.
clients are midlife. No, I would say it's quite the opposite. They don't believe they can truly have what they want.
Oh,
They don't,
wow.
because they've either been in 20 or 30-year marriages that they knew on the first date this guy wasn't right for them and they stayed and had 3 kids together and kept going,
Wow.
or they're 55 and every relationship they've had has been dysfunctional, and their last one was so bad, even though she did 10 years of therapy and is into personal development and self, by that point they've had so many failures and they've
Mm,
been so beaten down emotionally, not just by a partner, but they're also doing it to themselves on the back end. I'm such a piece of shit. Why did I stay so long? Why did I
oh,
do this to my
wow.
kids? That's the tape that they're playing. So by the time they come to me, there's a voice in their heart that says, oh, I want a relationship. But all of their bullshit is in the way. All of their
Right.
fear is in the way because they don't believe it's truly possible for them. They don't feel worthy of having it. They don't feel lovable on some level. So sometimes people, but it's less often. Sometimes people will have a very rigid set of standards, but I find that is because they're afraid and they're trying to
Mm.
control the person or the future person that they're trying to like make it. They've got to be these like 25 things or it's out, right?
Yeah,
And
they gotta
that's
check off all
like,
the boxes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's never going to happen, like they're made, but their standards are so high. And this is again like 10% of the cases,
Sure.
um, that it's because they're really afraid of having what they want. They're really afraid of making the same mistake again. They're really afraid of being vulnerable.
Mm. I mean, is it okay? Is it that bad to be aware of your vulnerability because of what you did in the past? Now, of course, like, and I'm definitely agreeing with you because now it could hinder your future relationship. But aren't we being more cautious of what maybe the past mistakes? Hey, we dealt with someone that was abusive or someone that just talked too much. Or, and I'm talking about when I'm saying talk too much, in other words, putting you down, gaslighting you, things like that. Is it that bad to have a criteria? But I agree with your point. If you have 25 things that they have to check off on the list, then I think that's a little bit too much. Did
Yeah.
my question make sense?
Yeah, it definitely does. I think it requires, so it's not bad to remember your past. You need to have some criteria. You need to, you need to remember your mistakes. The issue that I
Mm.
find most people are doing is that they're still living in their mistakes
Oh.
10 years later. 2 years later, 5 years
They can't
later,
let go.
they
Gotcha.
can't let go. They've left the relationship, and they might not even hear their ex's voice in their head, but they're still beating themselves up. They still feel
Right.
like something's wrong with them. They're still carrying it forward. So it's not bad to remember your mistakes and what you did and the red flags that you ignored, but you have to overcome the shame and the guilt and the self beat up and the inner judgment you have on yourself and the feelings of like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I get this right?
Yeah.
That's usually the biggest thing that holds people back.
Is why I can't get this right. Wow. It's because they're being too hard on themselves. They're taking blame for the relationship, even though that guy or that girl was an asshole. Um, yeah, I get it. Wow. That's definitely very deep. I definitely take that to heart because I've done that where I blame myself, but I went out with a bitch and she went out with an asshole before, and all of a sudden she's taking out on me, whatever, and it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah, so talk more about that.
Yeah. So I feel like when people are blaming themselves, I mean, yes, you can be with a narcissist. That's not your fault.
Right.
But ultimately, you are responsible as well for how that relationship turned out. Because I'm just going to use an example. If a woman is dating a narcissistic partner, or a partner's got a porn addiction or is like cheating on her with like 14 different women,
Right.
and she minimizes that behavior, or she ignores red flags, or she knows he's lying, but she's not saying anything, she's equally responsible for the dysfunction.
Okay.
So people have to be aware of what they're doing. They also have to take ownership, but without blaming themselves,
Right.
without beating themselves up. They have to be honest and compassionate and look at themselves in the mirror and going, what is it with me? Okay, I'm the common denominator in all my relationships. It's not everybody else. Like, it's me.
Right.
What is it within me that I'm doing? And most of the time, it's because they inherently feel like something's wrong with them. They don't feel worthy. They don't feel lovable. They feel separate in
Mm.
some way. They feel separate. They don't feel like they belong. And there's the two primary human motivators. I want to feel like I belong, and I want to feel like you accept me. That's what we're all seeking,
Yeah.
regardless
Yeah.
of your culture, your race, your age, whatever. And
I
when people feel that separateness, they tend to use dysfunctional ways to try to get love.
Yeah, no, the biggest thing I like what you said is belonging. You want to belong to whether it's to a person or a group, whatever. Yeah, I definitely agree. And also the what's the word I'm looking for? Validation.
Yeah.
Because we all like that. Listen, I'm an older gentleman. I'm not gonna say my age is 60, but you know, um, I listen, even at my age, I still like to hear certain compliments. I can't help it. I mean, we all do,
Yeah.
and it's not a bad, I don't think it's a bad thing. Well, anyway, first of all, Bethany, I want to thank you so much for being on People Day. I could probably talk to you for pretty much the rest of the day. Um, Talk about how do you help women today? What's
Yeah.
behind your teachings and your coaching,
Yeah.
that good stuff.
So I help women in their 40s and beyond who've never had a healthy relationship.
Mm.
They've thought they were making a good choice, and then they ignored thousands of red flags. They have a really dysfunctional pattern,
Mhm.
and usually their last partner was the worst. And it helped them overcome complex trauma with somatic therapy as the how, and then coaching to step, because you need to have that internal awareness. You need to do the rewiring part. You need to regulate yourself emotionally, but you need to actually bring that to life. So you need to step out of your comfort zone in your daily life to start opening your life up, taking risks, putting yourself in vulnerable situations.
Mhm.
Okay, let's see how you do. Are you going to be clammed up and nervous, or are you going to emotionally regulate yourself and be open? What happens? So so I help them rewire, and then I help them step out of their comfort zone socially with friends. Some people improve their careers, and then in dating, and especially for women who haven't dated in years because they're just so shut down. They don't trust themselves. They don't trust other people,
Right.
but they know in their heart they really want to overcome that. So, yeah, that's how I help them develop that confidence.
No, that's great. I love that concept. And you said you have a class. Talk
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. So I have a 45-minute training. It's a free masterclass, Break the Cycle. And it goes over, it's a high level overview of the 5 key points, the 5 shifts that I implement with my clients to help them break a lifelong cycle of codependency, people
Mm.
pleasing, not trusting themselves, staying too long in the wrong relationships, lack of confidence, how to heal that behavior, how to heal those deeply ingrained patterns. So it goes over that. It's not going to fix your problem in 45 minutes, but it's going to give you the highlights of
Right.
what you need to be doing differently, even if you've had lots of therapy and you've read a lot of books and you're researching the narcissist and all this kind of stuff. What you really need to be doing, the 5 key things that you really need to be doing consistently to heal that pattern forever.
Right. I'll definitely put that on the show notes. And if somebody want to get in contact with you, what's the best way?
Yeah, the best way would be my website, bethanydotson.com. There's a
Okay.
link to watch the class there. And at the end of the class, if they feel like they want to have an initial discovery call, a breakthrough call to see if we're fit to work together, they can absolutely do that after the class.
All right. Sounds good. Well, Bethany, again, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to people on there. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, William. Thank you so much.
Yep. Bye bye.